Hello everyone and welcome to my video where I talk about my book writing experience and how I started it and how it's going. So first of all, I'm gonna talk about the word building because how I came up with the story, it was just something that was in my brain since a long time ago, and it went through a lot of changes as I grew up and I read more stories. And then I realized that I have to give it some order and some soul. Just it cannot go around like this. Like the concept, I had the concept and I had like some scenes and tropes and what is gonna happen and all that, but were there were no word building in my brain, so I decided to do that. So I already knew that it was gonna be about Persian mythology and the thieves, and I knew I'm gonna put a lot of thieves and Persian gods, all that, but I didn't know how it all came together, and I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know a lot about the gods of the ancient gods. Like I've heard things about them, I've heard that they were important, but how did they look like? What were their powers? What did they do? And in the mythology, I didn't know much about it, so I started reading, and I started reading Avesta. I I read the Horde Avesta, which is like a little book of prayers, and in that I got like a whole concept of what it is, because Zoroastrian is like something we all grew up knowing what it is, but we never, like, most of us who are not like Zoroastrians, we haven't like completely read it. So yeah, so I knew what the concept is, but I never read the prayers, and so I got the vibe. And then I started, while I was reading Avesta, I came across some names that I didn't know what they were. So I started looking up, and then I found out, oh, there is another book. It's called Bundahish. Bundahish? Bundahish? I don't know how to pronounce it. And I started reading the Yash part in Avesta, which talks about the gods. Like, not the gods. I mean, it's kind of wrong to say gods because the concept is not God. The concept is more like angels. Me knowing I'm not gonna memorize everything and have them all in my head, so I started writing it. That's my notebook. I mostly read about Mitra and Anahita, the Mitra being the god of sun, and or like Yazata or Izad of god, of sun, and promises, and Anahita being the goddess or Izad of uh, water and um, fertility and healing. So I read mostly these two chapters, and I will go and read more. Yeah, and reading these, I've came across again some names, some location names, where I was like, okay, I gotta know what this is. And I found out that I can find them by reading Bundahesh. I started reading Bundahesh, and but I'm not finished reading it. I have to read more. I have to read more. And I found a lot of locations like where is Kavi, where is Karab. There were like words like Karab, Kavi, and I came across Iran Beach, the name Iran Beach, and Farah Cat, and I realized that's a good name for to start with. Um, so Farah Cat and Iran Beach became one of my concepts in my book and one in my lore, and so I decided to call my celestial realm at first Iran Beach. And this did not go well because how you write it in English was like, oh my god, the concept, the dictation, and then the meaning of it is gonna be problematic and I'm gonna get canceled. So I changed it. I changed it to Farah Cat. And now my celestial realm is called Farah Cat. Yeah. So one of the first things that I started making in my word building was my military ranks. I had a lot of fun doing it, especially it was the first stages. It was one of the first stages of my word building, and I finally was like, it's all coming together. And yeah, it was very satisfying, and I asked ChatGPT a lot for help. So I made this with ChatGPT, and it was fun. It was really fun. Then I had to make good people and bad people, and what was so funny was that I was like talking with ChatGPT about this, and then I was like, yeah, I need like, oh, who are these bad people gonna like be called? And it said you can call them Durujan, which means like corrupted spirits. And then I was like, at the same time that I was like chatting with ChatGPT and trying my word building, I was at the same time I was reading Avesta, and I came across the word later, like 2 or 3 days later, and I was like, wow, it has the same meaning. I can work with it. Also something that helped me was that there is a website called avesta.com, and they have a dictionary for it. They have a dictionary like for Avesta words. I check everything like there, made sure whatever ChatGPT is saying is correct. It's not just bullshitting. So I had to have a concept that is like magic, like it's the good force. So I think it's a very obvious word if you are Iranian and you grew up with or like Persian speaking, and you grew up like reading Shahnameh or something. So it's called far. It's a very pretty obvious word. The villain, I still don't have a word for villain. Like I have nothing. Like literally nothing. And I'm not gonna announce or like show the villain anytime soon. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it, you know. But at some points I'm like, oh my god, it's the story is gonna be boring if you don't know anything about the villain. At some point you gotta read about the villain. I just know that the villain is making everyone into a drujan or a druj, like is corrupting their spirits. And why is he doing that? Nobody actually knows. Okay, this came later on. Um, I had very different ideas for the celestial realm. Is it gonna be like the Chinese celestial realm where the gods are just have castles or something, or what is it gonna be like? You know, I didn't know. I had like basically no idea. Then I read Bundahesh. I was like, So, the beginning of everything, like as I was like a little kid and I had the story in my mind, my characters were like solid stars, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep the concept. Why am I not keeping the concept? And I told my friend about it, and she actually liked the concept of stars, fallen stars. So I'm like, yeah, they work as stars. They are some celestial beings that have that work as stars, and some of them as constellation stars, and so it goes on. So basically, the people in the celestial, there are like ranks into it, and they live in uh, different levels. And the first level, which is like closer to the earth, is gonna be the stars. Like they are like humans, but they're like living up there, like in the sky, like in some realm that is everyone is like uh, looking like human, but they're not. And if you're gonna ask what they are, I had no name for it. Literally no name. And later on, when I wrote my first act, I'm gonna talk about how I wrote my first act. Later on, when I was editing my first act, I came up with the name. And it's gonna be something that I cannot pronounce. So I knew I'm gonna have 4 main characters, and it was not hard to make. Like the main characters were not hard. They were hard. No, they were hard. Like 2 of them. 2 of them was easy. Like 2 main characters was easy. Like I knew their name, what their name gonna be, and how are they gonna be like. And honestly, they went through a lot of changes when I was editing. The 2 other main characters, one of them is in the first act. The 4th one, I'm out. Like I don't know anything about her. Like I myself, she's a mystery to me. Making side characters was kind of hard. The mother, the dad. Oh my god, the dad. My dad doesn't have a personality. The dad is like 0 personality. So one of the things that I was struggling with was the age of characters. I didn't want them to be teenagers. Like I no, you're 17. You gotta go to school, get that diploma, and do your concours, girl. Like no, you're not gonna be fighting any devil up there. So I decided to make her 20. Yeah, so our girlie is gonna be 20, the other guy is gonna be 23, the main character, not the love interest. That was it for the word building video, and I'm gonna make another one about how the writing process went. Bye bye.